Pickling Financial Services of Lexington, Mass. Is a proud sponsor of Citizens Who Care, this fantastic event that the Andover Rotary Club does every year. As the current president of the Rotary Club of Lexington, I know how hard these events are to do. So congratulations again.
Welcome to the Andover Rotary Club's Citizens Who Care 2020 Annual Banquet and Awards Ceremony. I'm Andrew Betts, president of the Andover Rotary Club, and describing this as our 2020 awards ceremony wasn't a mistake. We chose each of tonight's recipients in January of 2020 and fully expected to hold this event in person last May. Obviously, nature had other plans. This is the 24th time we've had the privilege of bestowing these awards, but the first in this format. So I'll start with an apology to Wilson Stetcher, Norma Villarreal, Joel Bloomstein, Jane Cairns, Louise Haddad, Joanne Lena Heim, Michael Conjoin, Carolyn Hill Page, Lenore Price, John and Liza Waters, and Rabbi Robert and Faith Goldstein, and to those who nominated them, and to those who wanted to congratulate them. In the past, we have hosted, and you deserve to have, a dinner in your honor with dancing and a live band, with hugs and handshakes, and friendly smiles and pats on the back from people you know and from people you've just met. At this time, we're not able to have that kind of evening, but I hope that this ends up being another kind of evening that will be just as memorable and just as fitting for all that you've done. The Rotary Club, as you'll learn in a short video later in the program, is a group of civic-minded people with diverse interests and backgrounds who come together because we want to have an impact. We know that Andover, like every community across the country and around the world, has needs that aren't being met and has people who could help meet those needs if only they were better organized as a team. We know that teams often are greater than the sum of their parts. Each week, we come together in fellowship, in person when we could, by Zoom today, to learn about the challenges facing our community and about the people working to resolve those challenges. Many of the speakers who join us offer volunteer or financial sponsorship opportunities. We have ongoing local initiatives in the areas of addiction and recovery, education, food insecurity and housing, as well as international commitments in water purification, facial surgery, and education. We are privileged to bestow these 11 Citizens Who Care awards tonight. The Andover Rotarians, who established this award 24 years ago, decided on very few rules, but the most important was that honorees not be members of the Rotary Club. Citizens Who Care is our attempt to recognize members of the Andover community who might otherwise go unnoticed for the differences that they make in the lives of others. Serving others is often done in obscurity, but so many of these efforts deserve recognition, and in that recognition provide inspiration to all of us. When you hear the diverse interests and contributions shared in the stories of the honorees tonight, I hope that you'll see that making a difference can be done in many, many ways. The world becomes a better place, not when few of us work on all the challenges facing our community, but when all of us work on some, perhaps small part of the one challenge that most inspires us. The schedule for tonight will start with an invocation and a short video about Rotary. Each of the honorees will be introduced in turn by a Rotarian and will have a few minutes to share their thoughts with us. There will be congratulations from our elected officials and sponsors. At the conclusion of the awards ceremony, I'll be back to help you transition to Zoom breakout rooms where you'll be able to congratulate any of the honorees personally. You'll be able to enter and leave those breakout rooms as you wish. Tonight's event is only possible because of the hard work of the people who volunteered their time to plan and organize this event, and of course the sponsors who cover the cost of the event. If you haven't already, please consider donating to the Rotary Club through the Eventbrite registration website or directly to any of the initiatives of the honorees. Now that I hope you've ordered dinner from one of the restaurants in town, go ahead and pour yourself your favorite beverage, sit back, and enjoy the show.
Dear Lord of many faiths, 35,000 Rotary Clubs in 200 countries, 1.2 million neighbors, friends, community leaders help with their daily guidance to bring change in our world. For this, we are thankful. Here tonight, we have empowered citizens who care and put service above self to make Andover a better place for all of us. For this, we are thankful. Carolyn, Louise, Lenora, Joanne, Mike, Joel, Jane, and special honorees, our children's leader, Muddy and Liza, and the ever-present Rabbi Goldstein, and of course his wife, Faith. Here tonight, we are blessed to be served by a teacher among teachers who molds and directs our most precious asset, the children of our future. Norma Villarreal, Esquire, and Wilson Stetcher, a shining, rising student with the thirst of knowledge among us. For this, we are thankful. Please join me in a moment of reflection and thanks with these words. With our friends beside us and no person beneath us, with the bonds of Rotary between us and our worries behind us, with our goals before us and no task beyond us, with a thirst for knowledge and a dream of a polio-free world. We are thankful for our Rotary friends and the program we are about to share tonight. Amen.
Hi, I'm State Senator Barry Feingold, and I want to thank the Andover Rotary Club for all the great work you do on behalf of our community. I want to recognize some of these great recipients that are being honored tonight: Lenora Price, Carolyn Page, Louise Haddad, Joanne Heim, Michael Conjoyan, Joel Bloomstein, Jane Carnes. Also want to recognize our Educator of the Year, someone I've known for many, many years, Norma Villarreal, our Student of the Year, Wilson Stetcher. And I especially want to thank our two nominees for the Lifetime Achievement Award, Muddy Waters and Liza Waters, Rabbi Goldstein and Faith Goldstein. These are two groups of people who have done so much, not only for Andover, but for so many of the surrounding communities as well. And they will be in our midst for all the work that they have done, and we wish them all the best. But once again, I want to thank the Rotary Club for the great work you've done. Please keep it up, and thank you for doing everything that you do.
Congratulations to all our Citizens Who Care honorees. You are joining a group of dedicated and special people nominated by friends, families, and co-workers as Citizens Who Care. Someone who embodies the Rotary International's guiding principle of service above self. Citizens Who Care are the unsung heroes of Andover. Since 1996, the Rotary Club of Andover has honored 10 or so people each year who have contributed to the local community through their extraordinary volunteer efforts. In 2009, the club added 2 new categories of honorees: a student who exemplifies service above self, and an Educator of the Year, a role model who motivates and inspires students above and beyond their commitment in the classroom. Since 1996, the stories, photographs, and now videos of Citizens Who Care honorees have been gathered and preserved in the archives of the Andover Center for History and Culture, preserving their contributions for future generations, so that they can learn from and be inspired by the personal commitment that is needed to foster a vibrant and healthy community. So congratulations, you're joining a family of over 250 Citizens Who Care who have all made a difference in the life of this community. And now it's my pleasure to kick off tonight's program and hand over the introduction of our first honoree to a fellow Rotarian.
Hi, I'm Shelley Berman, a member of the Rotary of Andover. It is my pleasure to introduce our first honoree, Joel Bloomstein. Joel has been deeply committed to serving and supporting town governance through his service to the schools. He was an outstanding leader of the Andover School Committee, serving as chair twice during his 6-year tenure and leading the district towards such significant accomplishments as instituting a new high school schedule, getting 2 building projects off the ground, and eliminating tuition for full-day kindergarten. Congratulations, Joel.
What really motivates me is doing something that goes beyond me. And again, it could be making small differences or making large differences. I mean, I coached my daughter in soccer for many years, and I wasn't a particularly good soccer coach, but I felt like as kids were getting out, getting exercise, having fun. I deeply believe in public education, and to make the Andover school system as good as it could be was, really felt good to me. You know, somebody who likes to do things to, you know, to kind of advance causes bigger than myself. You know, frankly, I never thought I'd find something that was as meaningful to me as the environmental protection work I did. And being on the school committee was. There were a lot of things I feel really good about. Is trying to make the school system a welcoming place for everybody. You know, Andover has become a much more diverse town in terms of income, language, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and I, you know, one of the things we really worked hard on is to have everybody feel welcome in the system. You know, I'm very happy to say that we're now on the verge of being able to have a new West Elementary combined with a preschool. And actually, one of the things I'm now involved in my post school committee life is I'm chairing a group that's going to be trying to educate the community about why we're taking on the West-El and Shawsheen program and trying to build public support for it. For a number of years, I was Andover's rep to Crest. Crest is a special education collaborative. It really deals with some of the most significant special needs students, and it's a number of communities in and around the Merrimack Valley, and so we were able to reestablish a special education parent advisory council that, you know, really can provide information and support to families with special needs. Yeah, there's lots of opportunities if somebody is interested, and you know, we have some great volunteers in our schools. You know, both parents and people who no longer have kids in the school who've really stepped up and taken on projects. I did the work, not because I was looking for any particular recognition. Again, to me, it was important work and satisfying. I mean, one of the reasons this is meaningful to me, I mean, is because the Rotary is about service, and a lot of admiration for the Rotary and, you know, the kind of work it does. So, you know, it's all about service, so it does have a lot of meaning.
Hi, I'm Elaine Clements, a member of the Rotary Club of Andover, and it's my pleasure to introduce our next honoree, Jane Carnes. Since she first came to volunteer at the Andover Center for History and Culture so many years ago, Jane has been a tour guide, teacher, researcher, board president, committee member, and board member. She brings her passion for history and education to the History Center, Andover Trails, and the other groups who benefit from her volunteer time. Congratulations, Jane.
When you volunteer, you're opening yourself up to new connections and new people that you might never have met otherwise. Rewarding for me on a personal level, but on a larger scale, it contributes to the health of our community. That's become, I think we've all become aware of how important having a community is when parts of it are taken away. You were only going to volunteer for one organization in town, that the History Center was a good place to do it because it let you get fingers into almost every other organization in town. I first started with the Andover at Work program. Kids come here to learn about the town's history, and we have costumed volunteers who perform a little bit, answer the kids' questions. But that was the way I started. I did just that for many, many years before I joined the board and really started working on some of the research projects, some of the exhibits. We have a wonderful new computer program that I worked on in the past couple years where we've cataloged the objects in our collection. So it's searchable now by keyword. So if you're curious about something, you can pull up everything in the collection that pertains to that. One of my favorite things is everything that's hidden about this building. We have 3 stories of objects. So this is our research library. Open during regular hours for people that just want to poke around. We have a basement, archives full of paper ephemera and handbills and newspaper articles. Yeah, there's nowhere I'd rather be than down here poking around, solving a mystery. Every object has a story. I feel such a strong connection to people that lived in this town 100 years ago. And every time we work to conserve something or tuck it away, we imagine Andover residents 100 years in the future will be looking at these objects or these files. So I think a lot of my other groups that I was involved in, certainly Andover Trails, came from a connection that I made here in this building. And there was somebody at Avis who wanted to know the stories of things that happen outside in our preserved and natural area. So I started giving the history talks. They were enormously popular. We always have lots and lots of people who are interested in combining a little exercise with hearing about the town's history. You know, I've been a volunteer for 30 years, but it's a tremendous honor to be among the company of people that have already been awarded. So that's the biggest honor to me, is joining so many of the people that I really have looked up to and learned how to be a volunteer.
Hello, I am Peter Caruso Sr., a member of the Rotary Club of Andover and a past Assistant District Governor. Louise Haddad is an amazing senior volunteer who has empowered the lives as a 30-year member of Quota International in Andover, serving the needs of women and children, focusing on the deaf and hearing impaired, and with grants to the Deaf Study Program at Northern Essex Community College. Louise is an active member on the Andover Council of Aging, guiding the town on Meals on Wheels, health clinics, the social daycare center, newsletter, and counseling the elderly. And in her spare time, Louise works with St. George's Orthodox Church in Lawrence, where she packages food for the food banks in Lawrence. At 86 strong, Louise is out in the community in the spirit of Rotary's service above self. Congratulations, Louise. You are truly a citizen who cares.
It kind of happened without me even thinking. I shouldn't say that. I mean, I was always active in the church. A member of the Ladies Club forever, served on almost every office except secretary. I like people. I like to be with people. I am not good alone, but I don't mind sometimes. But for the most part, I'm happiest when I'm with people. One of the reasons I was attracted to Quota was I have a nephew who was deaf. He was born without hearing. And that was one of their missions, was to help the deaf and the hard of hearing. Through the years it evolved and it became disadvantaged women and children. Single mothers, we helped with one of the housing for battered women that was put together maybe 20, 25 years ago. We worked with Lazarus House, we worked with Project Home Again, we worked with Communities Together, an after-school program in Lawrence for children. One of my dear friends from church, she and I had worked on a editing of an ethnic cookbook that our church has. And it was a lot of work, but we got along very well. We were good friends, and so I thanked her because she wasn't a member of the club at the time. And one day after church, she said, "Okay, I did you a favor, it's your turn." I said, "What?" She said, "I want you to come to a meeting with me next week." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "I want you to come to a Quota meeting with me." I served as treasurer, I served as vice president, I served as president, I served as co-president. I worked on committees, I worked on the service committee. I think this year will be 30 years that I've been a member. So it helped me grow. I mean, it challenged me in ways I never thought I would be challenged. It lets you find things in you that you don't think you have. This was a young girl. Her name was Emily. She had many problems, health problems, but was the sweetest child. She had a hearing problem, And this is going back to why I like working with the hard of hearing and the deaf. This is Joel Rubin. We worked with him a lot in the early years because when we would get a request for help for hearing aid, we would go through him. My friend asked her what it meant to her, and she said, so I can hear my teacher at school even if she is not facing me. So it was things like that that really touched me. It's just knowing that at the end of the day, you have at least helped one person. Besides quota, I accepted, a position on the Council of Aging and that sort of thing. So with each group that I work with, it has broadened me and given me more things to think about and more people to think about. I think if anybody is thinking of volunteering, they should really just go for it. If somebody asks you to serve on a committee, give it a chance. I have enjoyed it, and I hope that I have had something to offer to all of these groups that I belong to, because they certainly have given back to me.
Hello! It's so great to see everyone gathered here today. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of tonight's event to celebrate this year's honorees for the Rotary Club of Andover. I want to thank Lenore Price, Carolyn Hill Page, Louise Haddad, Joanne Lena Heim, Micah Conjoyan, Joel Bloomstein, and Jane Carnes. Each one of you has demonstrated that you look after all those around you and provide Andover with extraordinary leadership and service. Congratulations to all the honorees, and thank you again for everything that you do. Next are the Lifetime Achievement Awards. Rabbi Robert Goldstein and Faith Goldstein are two of our honorees tonight. Rabbi Goldstein is an integral part of our faith communities and has done so much to expand interfaith dialogue. For nearly 40 years, he has provided greater meaning and understanding for so many members of our community. He has made Jewish rituals accessible through creativity, and he's done an incredible job to serve the religious needs of our community here. We're very fortunate to count on Rabbi Goldstein as a leader of our town, and I want to congratulate you on this award and also congratulate you on your retirement. Faith Goldstein has also served our town for many years. She has served as an elementary school teacher at South School, doing critical work of early education. I have repeated it many times throughout my remarks through the years, and I will continue to do so. Educators are the foundation of our community. Faith's dedication to teaching kids is truly inspiring, and I want to offer congratulations on this honor. Our final two Lifetime Achievement Award honorees are also valuable educators within our town. John Muddy Waters served as the head of the Pike School for well over 20 years. Educators are vital for shaping the future of our country and communities. I want to thank Muddy Waters for his long career in education and all of his work fostering the growth of countless students. I also want to congratulate him on his retirement. Next is Liza Waters, who served as a teacher at the Pike School and has continued to work hard to ensure that her students receive the best education they could possibly ask for. Thank you so much for your commitment, and congratulations on this honor. This year has also been incredibly difficult for students across Andover. Many of our kids are missing milestones they looked forward to and trying to adapt to new forms of remote and hybrid learning. I want to congratulate Wilson Stecker for being Student of the Year and an exemplary model for his peers in our community. We continue to recognize the work of our educators and all that they've done to ensure that our students are still engaged and receiving an education despite all the disruptions this past year. I want to thank Norma Villarreal for all that she's done this past year and congratulate her on receiving the honor of Educator of the Year. And this has been such a hard year, but we know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And despite all that, we know that your contributions has made things so much better than it would have been for our town. I'm so proud to serve this community, and I look forward to continuing to hear about the amazing work that you do and support you in any way that I can. Thank you for having me again, and have a good night.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pete Johnston from the Savings Bank right here in Andover. In addition to my responsibilities at the bank, I'm a longtime Andover Rotarian. As a local community bank, the Savings Bank's mission is to support the people and businesses in the municipalities that we serve, and we strive to ally ourselves with organizations who share that same mission of service to others. The Rotary Club of Andover does just that with programs like Citizens Who Care, which recognizes the efforts of Andover citizens to make their community a better place for all of us. Thank you, Rotary, for doing what you do to shine a light on these unsung heroes among us. And thank you to the Citizens Who Care for your incredible initiative and efforts. You keep doing what you do, we'll keep supporting you. Thanks.
My name is Jim Greeley, an Andover Rotarian, and I'm here to say a few words about Carolyn Hill Page. I first met Carolyn at a Run for the Troops auction meeting, and I was so impressed with both the fact she said I could probably get 3 or 4 items by next week's meeting and her magnificent sense of humor. Well, the following week she didn't bring 3 or 4, she brought 6 or 7. Carolyn's one of these people that actually delivers more than she promises, which for nonprofits is absolute gold. Then I found out of her eclectic community service involvement with the Lawrence YWCA, the Andover Boy Scouts, Troop 73, unbelievable work with Andona. She literally started the dog park 10 years ago with a few other folks. You don't get much more diverse than that. One of the beauties, as I said, of working with Carolyn is that she totally fulfills the kind of the Andover model of where doing good is serious fun. Carolyn, congratulations, and I can't wait to do some serious good and having some more fun in the very, very near future.
I don't ever remember not volunteering. I think it was like those smaller type things. I've worked with, large groups, Andona, worked on the dog park committee, the Run for the Troops, that kind of stuff. Those are, really big organizations that I've worked with. I joined Andona in 2003, and I joined it because I was sort of new to the community and I wanted to meet other women, other like-minded people. The work that Andona does is very inspiring. They give back to all the youth of Andover. They give large donations. They do groups, from sports groups to academic groups to camperships for people who can't afford summer camp, or scholarships for kids going to college. I've stayed with the organization. I'm a senior active member now, but I still, anytime they need something and I'm available, I'm happy to do it. And it's because of that connection that you make with the people that you volunteer with. Sort of volunteered with the Run for the Troops for the last 8 years, and that's also started because my son was a Boy Scout and he wanted to help. I got to know Bill, and it snowballed from there. And the last 3 years I've worked with Jim as the co-chair of the auction. I've got to know things about Ironstone Farms. I've got to know things about the Rotary Club, things I wouldn't have known about other organizations in Andover because of the volunteering I did for the Run for the Troops. I think the smaller ones, like the Boy Scouts or doing the drives for the YWCA, those type of things, those have really been the ones that have been the most impactful. I'm still doing some stuff with the Boy Scouts, even though my son is, already graduated college, but, they still have a need. I always think that people say they don't have time to volunteer. And I guess what I would say to them is that they really should just do it. I've met so many people. I've had such unique experiences volunteering. I've made lifelong friends. I can't say enough about just putting yourself out there. And then all of a sudden somebody's calling you saying, how about you help me with this? Oh, okay, of course. I'm happy to. I can also see the value that it's added and given to all the youth that I've worked with, or even my own 2 children. I mean, I see them as young adults. It's ingrained in them. It's part of their being, and I'll never regret that time that I give back to somebody or that I give to an organization. I feel like you can't go wrong. I don't think you'll ever regret it.
Good evening and welcome to the 2021 Rotary Club of Andover's Citizens Who Care event. I love this event because it gives the community a chance to recognize those among us who quietly and selflessly help others. Michael Conjoyan is just that kind of person. The Conjoyan family have been long entrenched in Andover with Conjoyan's greenhouses founded over 60 years ago by his father Michael Sr. and his mother Vera. And now, still a family business, Michael Jr. has continued the Conjoyan legacy of supporting community causes. So, Michael supports the police and fire departments by donating plants and flowers to beautify each of the stations in town. He's always there for school causes, as well as donating gift certificates for PTO fundraisers and more. The Melmark School serves children and their families affected by intellectual disabilities. Conjoyan's greenhouses and the Conjoyan family hosts students weekly from the school to help give them purpose and support and training. As well, Michael runs much-needed de-stress workshops for families of hospice patients at the Beacon Hospice. Let's face it, for most of us, that much community involvement would be enough, but Michael also tirelessly works on the Colleen Ritzer Step Up for Colleen 5K event. Every year he grows special pink daisies, cacti, and hosts wreath-making events, all to help in fundraising. Hopefully, 2021 will once again bring a live race day. I'm sure Michael will be there, all in with his trucks and staff to help with the massive logistical undertaking of staging thousands of runners that annually attend this great community happening. I can't help but think the Andover Rotary Citizens Who Care event was created for people just like this. Michael Conjoyan never seems to say no to helping others, and always with his signature great big smile. Thank you, Michael, and congratulations on your selection as one of the Rotary Club of Andover's Citizens Who Care.
My parents used to have a big farm here, and then my dad, they got into the greenhouses, the greenhouse business and growing, and I worked around there in those days and went to college for it, and I just enjoy it. We still have customers from my parents' day. They come from Seabrook, from Rye, from Salisbury. They come from Vermont. I've known the older policemen, the older firemen, the older people, and it goes up and up in what they've done for all of us. We need them, they're here. They need color, we're there. The teachers, we have fundraisers, Susan and I have fundraisers. The teachers can show the kids, they come here sometimes and put their hands on and get their hands dirty and see what it's all about. I'm part of a team. I think of Colleen all the time. I think of Tom and Peggy and the family all the time, and it just feels so good. You get stronger and stronger every day when you see this. And Tom coming in here weekly, therapy.
And what about Brian?
Brian was one of us. He will always be part of our team, always.
The first year, how many of these did you?
40 or 50 of these, they were in green pots. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sizes. And some of the colors have changed too. Pink, dark pink, light pink, double pink. Look at this Colleen color. It all starts here. Tom did this January 2nd. Stuck the cuttings. Look at that color. We have the Christmas cactus again for Colleen. And it feels good when Susan and I write out a check and give it to Colleen Ritzer Foundation. Our customers become friends. If they come here the first time, second time, then we get to know one another. I get to know what kind of plants, flowers, sizes each household needs, and we become friends. They'll call us up, Michael, I'm gonna come at 10 o'clock, and the husband, wife, kids will come, and it's like a team, and it's all family oriented. We color up their yard, we color up whatever, we just enjoy doing that, especially what's going on in the world right now. Thank God we're open and we can do this. Making people happy.
Joanne Hines started her volunteer service at a very young age. She was vice president of her class at Andover High, and even as a teenager did an awful lot of work with volunteer work with special needs children. Since that time, she has done so much for Lazarus House, food drives, toy drives, clothing drives. There's not much she hasn't done at St. Augustine's. She was a charter member of Quarter International and been involved with Andona, including as chair of their Andona Ball for years and years. However, her biggest passion, her biggest commitment is the Service Club, which was started in 1993 by her dad. So for 28 years, she's been on the board and for most of that time, secretary. But there's very little she hasn't done for the Service Club. In fact, most of their major events, she is the mover and shaker, the coordinator, the behind-the-scenes person for the picnic in the park, for the annual Rose Ball, which is a dinner dance, and for the fundraising gala and auction that the Service Club does. She has such compassion. If you just see her with these wonderful people who've had challenges, developmental, physical, intellectual, and weren't always dealt the best hand, but she treats them with such love, such affection, and does so much good that she literally lives up to the Service Club motto of making a difference in the lives of these children and young adults. I always thought of the Citizens Who Care Award being kind of like a Hall of Fame for unsung heroes. Joanne is the epitome of an unsung hero and also the epitome of a person who's made a difference.
I really like being involved in something that has a good mission, has a purpose. I'm not in it for selfish reasons. I really want the end result to make good for others. My mother was a member of the Andona Society, which was the women's organization to be in Andover back in the day. My mom was really encouraging me to join Andona. So before the PTAs was Andona, and even before that, in 1997, we started the Service Club of Andover with my father. My dad was a Rotarian, a Lawrence Rotarian, and when he opened his business, he wanted to bring Rotary to Andover, and working with him, I was part of that kind of inception of it all. So we started to really kind of see what were some of the needs, and one of the main needs was the developmentally disabled adults. After the age of 22 in Massachusetts, there really isn't a whole lot. They're funneled through the school systems and through the state system, but now you're dealing with parents that are aging, and they themselves have their own issues. So we kind of wanted to step in to kind of give a little bit of respite to those parents and come up with some creative programs, and we have all these years. It's been wonderful. These kids needed a little more direction on what were they going to do after high school, what were their feelings of maybe their future careers. So we developed more of a career mentoring program. It is a credit program now at Andover High School. It's been that way, and so we give 2 scholarships out to high school students that have completed our program. And I shifted more of my gear towards the developmentally disabled adults and the programs that we did. That's more of where I felt was a little more at heart for me. We throw dances for them. We have our big thing probably for the past 5 years is called the Rose Ball. It's all expenses paid, a nice beautiful sit-down dinner at Andover Country Club. They love to dance, they love to eat, they love to have a good time. There's so much joy in doing something for them that's like that caliber. They're special, they're gifted, they're happy. I'm drawn to them and can connect with them. And a lot of people, they're attracted to that, to volunteer for something like that. We always say that you're gonna come out of this and your heart's gonna be bigger. You need to roll up your sleeve. You need to do something. And I always feel like not enough people do that. And you know, sometimes if I can do it, I can rope in some friends, I can rope in my children. I think both my girls have seen that with Brad and I. Between Dad, Brad, and me, yeah, we work as a good team when it comes to doing good for others. And the service club really has kind of bonded us that way.
Doherty Insurance has been involved in this community since 1934. In almost 90 years, we have watched and celebrated with so many citizens who have given so much to this community. I'm so happy today that we're able to enjoy and celebrate those honorees that we're celebrating tonight. Congratulations. We love what you do in our community. We are a better community for it, and we certainly join in this celebration.
Century Bank is proud to support the Citizens Who Care event in the Andover Rotary Club. We want to congratulate all the outstanding citizens who have been nominated for volunteering their time to help make Andover a better community. If ever there was a year to celebrate a special teacher and student, it is now. Congratulations on being recognized for your outstanding work.
Hello, I am attorney Peter Caruso, a proud Andover Rotarian. As lawyers, my son and I experience many of life's joys and the heartaches of our clients. The citizens tonight bring happiness to lives in Andover. They ease the difficult times of our Andover residents. They are pillars of our community. They bring Andover to new heights. My son Peter and I salute these unsung volunteer heroes of our community for their service above self. They provide spiritual direction, senior citizen assistance, educational support, and direction to our youth. For this, we are thankful.
So we all thought this was going to be a normal Friday morning. It was a Rotary Club meeting at the Lanham Club. Bill Fahey was our speaker. He's the Youth Services Director. It was the summer of 2015. But we were all about to find out that it was going to be anything but ordinary. Bill told us of a crisis that was gripping the country and certainly the state, and now it had trickled down right to our community.
And he was impassioned, and he was so upset that Andover had been losing a citizen a month. Andover recognized we had a problem, and fortunately our Board of Selectmen, our Police Chief, Pat Keefe, got together with the other community leaders, and they looked for help.
You could hear a pin drop in that room. It was so alarming to hear that we were averaging a citizen a month was dying right here in our hometown of Andover.
The opioid epidemic continues to be one of the worst epidemics in United States history. The opioid use disorder epidemic is rampant across the country, and although showing some positive signs of improving, we still have a lot of work to do.
Addiction knows no boundaries, whether it be in people's families, workplaces, or in their town like it was in Andover and like it is in Andover.
Andover Fire Rescue is in the front lines dealing with the opiate crisis almost on a daily basis. And if it wasn't for the community outreach and the community support that we received, especially from Andover Cares, we would not be able to fight the opiate crisis as well as we have been able to in the town of Andover.
After the meeting that day, many of the Rotarians stayed. We talked for nearly an hour, and we tried to find out if there's anything we could do. How could we help?
We got together after and said we had to do something, and we decided, hey, let's raise some money, because that's one of the things Rotarians are good at doing. Getting community partners, seeing a need, raising money.
In 2015, when we were having a community discussion about how we as an organization, the town of Andover, was going to combat the crisis around addiction, we needed community partners. And as part of that effort to find those community partners, Andover Cares was front and center, and they were a voice of support and an advocate in trying to build a real sense of how we build community support behind what is a community problem.
Rotary did what Rotary does. We identified the problem, worked on a solution, and rolled up our sleeves and got to work.
So we got together and we said, let's put together a fundraiser. We'd put together an event in the fall. We'd bring in some entertainment. We'd bring in some resources. We'd try to raise money. Andover Cares doesn't claim to be the experts, but what we do claim to do is care about the community, provide resources, and also help our community partners different corporations and individuals who care about making Andover the best community in the world.
This one problem doesn't have one solution. It requires a lot of hands coming together in order to make meaningful progress.
As a physician, I feel it's very important to not only work on treating substance use disorders, but also focusing on education and prevention in the community.
Andover Cares is one of our strongest and best supporters and partners. That has played a vital role in the success of our free community drop-in center downtown.
We started to raise money that we could provide back to the community in the form of grants. A lot of the folks who have gone through struggles with substance abuse and addiction, it's affected their whole family. Often trust is broken at that point. One of our grants went to Ironstone Farms for a program with equine therapy to help build trust.
So Ironstone Farm provides programs for veterans, and we have veterans that come every week. And probably 90% of those veterans are in recovery from some kind of an addiction, and a lot of that addiction is opioids.
The way we've been able to partner with Andover Cares and truly get their support is through a number of different grants. A lot of the programs that we're doing wouldn't be possible. So some of our therapeutic groups that we run at the drop-in center, even a voucher program that would give access to folks to transportation to get to treatment, and a number of different other programs like Hidden in Plain Sight, which is an educational program for parents and loved ones around early signs of addiction.
We've also provided a lot of grants that have gone to different organizations affiliated with the schools on wellness, on making good choices, for kids to be making ethical, safe, good choices, and often having kids find a path and an opportunity to work with their peers.
I don't know, looking back 5 years later, where we would be without Andover Cares support. A lot of hands coming together in order to make meaningful progress. And we've had that in terms of our municipal departments, but we've had that with Andover Cares, who's had a hand in everything we've done thus far, and I look forward to them continuing to be a partner.
Andover Cares means a lot, and Andover truly cares, because that partnership has enabled us to help a lot of people, and hopefully in the future a lot more.
Martin Luther King has said that it is always the right time to do the right thing. And right now it's absolutely the right time to do the right thing. Andover Cares and all the people in the Merrimack Valley have really rallied to do what is right for our patient.
I think Andover Cares helped the town of Andover be in the forefront in dealing with this problem, and without them we would not be where we are today. And certainly that has attributed to a reduction in deaths as well.
It's amazing that there are organizations like Andover Cares who can generously support our opportunities and our efforts to really invest back in the community, provide education and resources to be able to treat the problems that exist.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I thank the efforts of the Andover Cares folks who continue to pay attention to this issue around mental illness and the disease of addiction, and continue to be creative, humble, and very generous with their funds to make recovery and healing a possibility for a lot of our community members. I thank you.
I'm proud of the important community work we've done at Andover Cares. And I believe we've made a difference, and quite honestly, I think we've helped in saving some lives. But the work is not done. There's still thousands and thousands of people dying in Massachusetts every year. So the work needs to go on. Our grants need to go out into the community to continually educate our citizens to the dangers of addiction, but we also need for them to make good choices and to know the value of those good choices. And of course, we have to thank each and every one of you for your support and your help. All the businesses, all the corporations, the individuals, and the citizen groups who have given not only their time and money, but they've really worked hard in this fight against addiction. In the words of Anne Frank, how wonderful it is that we need not wait a single moment before we start improving the world.
It's my pleasure to introduce our next honoree, Lenore Price. Lenore is a lifelong resident of Andover. Having attended the Andover Public Schools as a youth, she has now made an extraordinary commitment to contribute her time and energy to the school district as the president of the Andover Coalition for Education, or ACE. Under her enthusiastic and inspiring leadership, ACE has provided critical funds to support instructional innovation, while at the same time building a sense of community throughout Andover with such events as the Scarecrow Festival and March Madness. Congratulations, Lenore.
So when I came to Andover, I actually immediately started researching what I might want to get involved in. This particular organization, it's an ed fund, you know, and so you're making these really strategic decisions and you're forming all these partnerships to really affect change on a grand scale. And so that was just a perfect fit for me, right? I love that kind of work. And I actually moved into this house and I met my neighbor across the street and we were just chatting. It turns out she was on the board of ACE. And I can't believe this. I just was researching this organization and, you know, immediately welcomed me and I went to my first board meeting and just thought, oh, this is awesome. I think pretty early on there was a lot of different ways I could plug in. And I think it's the kind of group also where there's the day-to-day work of understanding what this district needs, providing funding for that, creating awareness about that, but then there's just kind of those extra things. At the time we were looking to hire our first director for the organization, so getting involved in that, doing some research about how other ed funds operate, you know, I think that flexibility was always really exciting for me. And then at some point, there just needed to be a new president of the group, and so, you know, I was lucky enough to be able to step into that. For me, it was a moment to say, where is ACE right now and where do we want to go? And I think that's something that I started looking at really quickly. I worked with two other ladies to develop this March Madness event, and the idea was let's just get as many people in and talk about our mission and get people excited, bring people from all the schools together. And it was over at the Lanham Club, and we had so much fun doing it. You know, I think for me was an example of how if we look further out and where we want to be, we can start thinking about what types of work we want to do that can get us even further along in that direction. So you think of like the senior showcase where we had 200 to 300 people come and look at all of the capstone projects seniors in high school were doing, right? They spent it's almost a mini dissertation that they focused on over the year, then they presented just so professionally. And that capstone process, that global pathways process, those were all initiatives that ACE funded and supported, helped get off the ground. Anyone that has kids in the school and anyone that is aware and had a teacher themselves knows you have an awesome teacher. It makes a world of difference, right? So it was thinking about how do we tap into what the need is there. So we created the Teaching Innovation Fund. And so now every year there's a pool of money. The first year we gave out around $15,000. The second year was right around that mark, and said if a teacher has an innovative idea they want to try, they apply, we will fund it. If it's successful, we want to see it shared, right, with other people. So when we review these grants for this fund, what makes the ACE process unique is that we have teachers sitting on our review board. We have administrators sitting on our review board central office. So everyone's getting a view into the incredible work that's happening. I picked two things that are kind of related. I guess I'll package them up. It's the people I work with. The board is the best board. I mean, it just is. It's like people come, these are busy people, and people come and they have reviewed every detail about whatever grant we're looking at, the thoughtfulness, the insight. It's one of those things where the sum is greater than the parts. The other side of it really is the school side. To be so present and so close to that passion is awesome. I mean, anyone that's passionate about something, you just want to be around them. What I say about ACE is it can be really strategic. There's lots of different ways to volunteer, right? What's fun about this is it is scratching that strategic itch. So that if you are looking for an outlet for that kind of thinking and that kind of work, this is a fantastic place to be.
My name is Heather Dwyer and I am a school counselor at Andover High School. It's my privilege to be here today to introduce you to this year's Rotary Club winner of Student of the Year, Wilson Stecker. Wilson was my student from grades 9 to 12 for the last 4 years. He's currently a freshman at Colby College in Maine. From the moment I met Wilson, he made an immediate impact at Andover High School. Forever the humanitarian, he was kind, outgoing, selfless, athletic, and philanthropic. He further impressed me with his work that he did with the Lawrence Boys and Girls Club. He came up with a project called Worry Woods. It's rare to find him without a smile on his face, dedicated to his studies, a lover of the outdoors and everything in Maine. Wilson, congratulations.
So I've got two great parents. They've been so supportive of me my whole life. And I really couldn't ask for better parents. And I've got a sister who's a junior at Hamilton College over in New York, and she's back here. She's doing an internship working with kids with severe autism down in Southborough. I remember from a very young age, my mom would always bring me over to other kids who seemed like they weren't really doing quite as well, and kind of taught me how to talk to them and see if I could help out in any way. So Lawrence Boys and Girls Club, Corunum, I've done some work there at the Soup Kitchen. Students to Students is a club that I was a co-president of my senior year. I was a mentor in that program my junior year of high school, always teaching me lessons about how to make sure that other people are doing okay. I'd been interested in immigration, and I knew that a lot of kids that I was working with at the Lawrence Boys and Girls Club had kind of concerns about immigration status. So I'd been volunteering there as a tutor, helping second, third grade kids with their schoolwork. And I'd spoken with staff there, and they pointed me to a group called Keystone, 40, 50 high school students. And it was kind of shocked me to realize just how, the anxiety levels, especially the kids who, they weren't really clear about what was happening, but you could tell that there was definitely some anxiety there. So I make these little, if you ever heard of worry stones, they're kind of similar to that, but they're made out of wood. They're just kind of really smooth. I sand these pieces of wood, and they have kind of a nice groove for your fingers. It's not nice and smooth, it fits in your hand. So I ended up making worry woods, and I made them out of wood from each student's home country. This one's made out of cocobolo, so if a student said they were from a specific country, cocobolo is from South America, so I'd make this one for them. I figured that the students at the Boys and Girls Club could be a good audience, people who could maybe benefit from these. Most of the time was spent down in the basement really making the things. I'd take a section maybe about that big, I'd cut it into probably 3 or 4 chunks, and then I'd sand all these corners off. This is just used to hold on to the piece. This would be a rounded piece, and then the groove might be on the top here, so it would fit kind of nice curve in your finger here, with a nice groove for your thumb to go in right here. I sent out a survey afterwards to see how they liked them. One student wrote that it was surreal to feel like they had a piece of their country's, their family's country at the tip of their finger, which was pretty incredible. So Maggie is my guidance counselor's daughter, and this past fall of my senior year of high school, she was diagnosed with cancer. My guidance counselor had known about the Worry Wood project I had done, and it was her idea that I could make a few Worry Woods for her and some of the friends that she had met at the hospital. I spent a few hours at the hospital, kind of getting to know Maggie. She chose one of the Worry Woods for herself and her mom and her sister, and then she took some of the other Worry Woods I had made, and she had fun going around the hospital and giving them to her friends, which was just so much fun to see her, and because then she gets that feeling of helping other people. But so yeah, if someone was thinking about volunteering and they're kind of hesitant, or they maybe didn't feel like they have the drive, I'd go back to the self-serving part of it. Maybe put yourself first in front, and then maybe that's what will motivate you to go, knowing that you're going to feel good afterwards, and then you'll still be able to do the work for other people. But then at the end of the day, you're going to be feeling better, and then I'm sure that'll drive you to come back again. The connections that I make there are so gratifying to me, and most of the time it doesn't even really feel like service, just because the connection is just so fueling for me.
Hi, it's my pleasure to introduce our next honoree, our Teacher of the Year, Norma Villarreal. Norma gave up a career in law to teach and has never looked back. Her love of teaching and her effectiveness with middle school students over the past 20 years has been so evident in the countless accolades she's received from parents, students, and her colleagues for the caring she exhibits towards students and the innovative ways she engages them in learning through project-based learning and interdisciplinary performances. Congratulations, Norma.
I love that every day is a day of discovery. Children are by nature artists and scientists and historians. They are ready to respond. If they see an excitement in you, if you are engaged, they will respond to that. I found that this age group, for me, that there's a real appeal about middle school. I think a lot of people feel sorry for middle school teachers, but the truth is that we get the best of them. We get to see them as young children coming in the building and they leave ready for high school. So it's really a privilege and honor to work with this age group as far as I'm concerned. Ultimately, it's about relationships with the kids. How are they feeling? How am I feeling this day? And the exchanges that we have, even if it's through the screen, that does not change. The desire to impart knowledge, but also wisdom. I mean, these are our children who will inherit the world from us. And teachers have, as parents do, a very unique role to play in nurturing these children and helping them to see the potential that they have. And I am teaching them Spanish, but I like to think, and I think we all do, we world language teachers, that we are teaching them much more. We're teaching them to appreciate who they are and where they come from, whether your culture is from India or China or Cape Cod. You have a culture and you have that to share with the world. And as you get older, you have a responsibility to bring that and to make your world a better place. You know, as much as I had outstanding professors in later years, I think the influence that teachers make in those youngsters, that's what really has determined the success of my life in different ways. My family, my wonderful family, my husband, my sons. I have been able to bring my own interests to help make the material more dynamic for my students. So, for example, whether it's through museum visits, in this classroom, 3 times I had people come from Oaxaca, Mexico, because that's an interest that my students have been studying long term. So a weaver, we had a ceramic artist, we had a mask maker. I had Fulbright teachers who were involved through a program through University of Lowell. For me, it was an incredible opportunity to bring people from El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Colombia here into my classroom with my students, teaching them dance and song and poetry. The NEAL project, the New England Arts and Literacy Project, that was phenomenal. Some of the success is due to having been a parent and raised 3 boys. They were and they are the joy of my life. They convinced me that if you stay with children and if you work with them and you follow their lead, they will lead you to extraordinary places. And they come back and visit. I have a lot of students who come back to visit. They don't remember that I taught them how to conjugate the future tense. They don't remember, all the AR verbs. They do remember how they felt in that moment when they were on stage or making a piece of pottery or weaving something. That's what they're going to remember. So that's what I would say, that it is an awesome responsibility in every sense of the word, but it's a journey worth taking.
Andover TV is proud to have worked closely with the Rotary Club of Andover to create the virtual Citizens Who Care event. We hope you are enjoying the show.
Hello, my name is Joanne Kellijanis-Phineas, and I'm a member of the Andover Rotary Club. Since my children and I were longtime members of the Pike School community, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Muddy and Liza Waters, recipients of the 2020 Lifetime Achievement Award. For 26 years, it's been all about the students from Muddy and Liza. Their dedication, work, and vision built a community and school environment where children thrive, feel safe, cared for, and included. Muddy and Liza have selflessly given of themselves to make the Pike School extraordinary, and they have generated a positive impact on the greater community. Their incredible legacy will surely continue for generations to come. Congratulations, Muddy and Liza.
So we moved here in 1994 when we took the jobs here at Pike. So it was 26 years. The kids were in 3rd grade, 5th grade, and pre-K, so they really grew up here in those 26 years. They went from being pre-kindergartners to being adults.
We met at Kingswood Oxford School in West Hartford, Connecticut in 1979. And so we got married and had our children there in Connecticut and then moved up here.
We were lucky because we were moving into a ready-made community and a fairly large one, so we were connected to a lot of people.
And I think the gift was our children enjoyed sports, and so the youth sports figured huge in our life. They played soccer, hockey, lacrosse.
In fact, we ended up both coaching in town, several youth sports. There are two kind of pivotal moments in my life. One of them was when I was in the 8th grade. My dad gave up a pretty successful business career to be a 5th and 6th grade English teacher and became a grammar fanatic. And it really, like, why would somebody do that? But he was so much happier. It was just evident to me. So that change in his career got my attention. And then I went to summer camp for 8 weeks in Maine, starting when I was 9 years old. And my last year in senior camp as a 14-year-old, my camp counselor was this amazing guy who was just so inspirational, and it just made me realize, wow, he had such a big impact on me. And wouldn't it be great if I could do that for other people? So I went right from college into the classroom. So I ended up being able to teach for 46 years. And kind of, it's in a way been the family business. I mean, I'm looking at you because you could kind of
passing the baton to me.
Yeah.
So I grew up at Hotchkiss School. My dad was a scholarship boy, as was his dad, and he worked his way up to be a teacher and then became the head of school. So I grew up in the headmaster's house at Hotchkiss, so I watched my parents nurture faculty and students through the 60s and 70s, which was a pretty pivotal time. My mom particularly, she was a very adamant women's lib person. It meant a lot to her for schools to go co-ed. So she was very active in that, and she was active in the Board of Higher Education in Connecticut. And so I think their model of giving back filtered into me into education. I always wanted to be a teacher. I think just watching the lifestyle that they had and the friends I had whose parents were also teachers. I also went to camp and be a camp counselor, and the joy I would get just as a camp counselor of teaching a kid how to float, or I just taught swimming mostly, do the crawl and be able to get across gave me so much joy because you could see that accomplishment. That's why I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and so the opening was at Kingswood where we met.
I'd been at Kingswood for 5 years, I think, and the dean of faculty came to me to tell me that she had just hired somebody she thought would be perfect for me. And I thought at the time, as a 26 or 7-year-old, what would this old lady, who's now probably 20 years younger than I am now, know about what a cool young guy like I would be interested in? But it turns out she knew what she was doing. So we ended up getting married, within a year of when we met. And then at Kingswood, I'd been there for a while, and I became a division head in charge of the middle school. And then I felt like it was time for a new challenge, and I looked at a few different positions, and to this day, I don't know why I got this one, because it was by far, I figured I would have to go to a smaller, maybe more kind of struggling school as somebody who had never been a head before, and yet somehow I got this job.
When he got the job here at Pike, I knew I wanted to still be a teacher, first and foremost, and then probably a parent and a teacher.
The job as head of school is an interesting one. It's kind of, I felt it would be important that I'm not kind of seen as playing any favorites, so you end up being a little bit isolated, and Liza had to do the dance of being the husband of the head of school, but still being a faculty member and wanting to be a full faculty member, and luckily she was good at her craft, and people really knew that and admired that about her.
I walked in the door and I was a teacher, and I tried to push myself as far away from being his wife as possible around the hallways. Well, everybody else was looking at me as his wife. But I think that it probably gave Muddy a window on what it's like to be a teacher, and I think I was enough outspoken that people knew where I was coming from that was separate from where Muddy was coming from. I think early on, I felt like I had to be the best teacher I could possibly be, because if I was just being given this job because I was married to Muddy, that was not going to be okay. I think team matters a lot to us, and so I think that probably rubbed off as, like, by example. We were a team. We could give each other grief in front of the faculty, and the faculty would roar over that, but they could see that we had each other's back. And I think that mattered.
We managed to make it work, and I think it's funny, people thought we'd be in our business all the time, but pretty much not. We could go long times and kind of with each other, and kind of, even though we ended up sharing this very classroom for the last few years, most of the time she was plenty busy with her day job, and I was plenty busy with mine.
What do I love about teaching kids? And it doesn't matter the age. What I love is when a child who's been struggling gets it, particularly the ones that you don't think are going to make it, to pull them along. But then again, I do love challenging the really bright ones. I have fun, like, digging for stuff that's going to push them a little bit further than they thought.
I think her passion for the work is really key, and I think her commitment to trying to help others. I mean, being on the board of Habitat for Humanity in the area and working at ABC House, I would hear her come home from working with the kids at ABC House and talk about how excited she was about the things they were learning and the opportunities that they were going to have that maybe couldn't have otherwise been possible. I think sense of humor has always been essential in my life. I just finished a book called Humor Seriously, and I think in these times more than ever we need to hang on to that, and she can make me laugh as much as anybody. I think we're lucky that we both like to exercise, so we bike together. In retirement, we're cross-country skiing that we didn't have time for before. We're doing a lot of walking together. So I feel lucky that we share a lot of interests, and then I think we both have always had family at the center of everything we do and believe in, and to watch it growing to now having our 3 children and 6 grandchildren, it's really kind of a gang when we get together, and it's a blast, and being able to share that with her is special. And the only problem I have with her is that she's so good at this role that when the kids come over, they only want Nana. So the two almost 2-year-olds, when we're going down the stairs, whose hand do you want to hold? Nana. And then I'll go to the other one. I'll take your hand. No, Nana. It's a gift she has with kids in general, and now getting to watch her kind of teach our grandchildren. She literally, basically, as we're getting ready to pick them up for the day, telling me what her lesson plan for the day is. I mean, it's not just show up and see what happens. It's, no, today we're going to do this, and we're going to cut out hearts for Valentine's, and it warms my soul.
He has a gift in meetings of being able to hear people, so that when he's running a meeting and there's all these disparate points of view, he is able to say, this is what I hear over here, this is what I hear over here, and somehow they're all nodding, and then he can pull them along with where they need to go. And I think he's also good at talking about the hard topics and making them, 1, understandable, 2, palatable, and 3, make people that probably were not on his side understand the other side, and maybe not agree, but agree to go along with it. And again, taking care of others. He's always got other people in his mind as well. Family is huge for him. Teaching is a lifestyle. Not only is it a career or your job, it's a lifestyle. Most teachers, they don't plug the clock, and at 5 o'clock when school ends, they're not done. They're going home and they're correcting papers, and they're going over their class lesson plan. They're trying to figure out what went wrong and what went right. How am I going to make tomorrow better? They're kibitzing with their colleagues of how to help Johnny do better. And I think the biggest high I ever got is when you teach a class and all of them are with you, you know, and you walk out the door and you go, wow, they all are nodding and getting it, and we're engaged and excited and ready to come back the next day.
But I can't think of anything more rewarding than as Liza has said, getting kids excited about learning. Because if we just give them that, they're going to have great lives and they're going to do great things.
Hi, I'm Mark Spencer. I've been a member of the Andover Rotary Club since 1995 when my family moved here. I can't think of anybody in the entire town who is more qualified to be honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award than Rabbi Robert Goldstein and Faith Goldstein. Rabbi and his wife and family moved here just before I did and replaced a rabbi at Temple Emmanuel who was revered by his congregation, and who would know that 25 years later he would be even more revered as a spiritual leader. Faith Goldstein was a first grade teacher at South Elementary School. All three of my kids had her, and I can tell you that their opinion, as well as mine, all their other classmates, and probably most of the teachers there would agree that no teacher was more beloved than Faith. Congratulations to both of you.
We arrived in June of 1990. We had two kids and a pregnant wife. Faith was pregnant with our third daughter, who ultimately was born that December. Our first daughter started first grade the following September. Our middle daughter was in preschool. I had left a smaller congregation in Falmouth on Cape Cod of about 200 families, and then came to Andover with well over 500 families. So it was a big adjustment, but one that I'm really happy, a change that we made. My wife took the first 2 years she had been teaching in Falmouth in public school. She took the first 2 years off, first because we had the new baby, and then just to help the kids sort of get acclimated, she started subbing at West L in 1992, I believe. That's the second year we were here. And then she went to work full-time at South School, where she's been a teacher for 27 years. She's not with me. I just want people to know she had some shoulder surgery this week, so she's kind of recovering from that. I've been very fortunate in that I have been welcomed into many different places. I think there's barely a church in this community in which I have not either spoken or had an occasion to interact with clergy. So I feel that, you know, I'm sort of a messenger of what my faith is about and some of the teachings. And I've also on occasion written essays for the Townsmen on current events and what I think are not just Judaism, but I think what sort of, how we can sort of understand some of the events that have taken place. Andover is an incredible place to raise a family. We felt that way. I think the opportunities in terms of both public and private education are just phenomenal. And we took advantage of both public and private education for our children. They were the most important. They always came first. And I think we communicated that to our kids. I think they understand that. There are two, I think, highlights of my rabbinate that are most meaningful to me. One is the involvement with the families whose life cycle events I've been a part of. There's something incredibly gratifying about you know, standing on the bim of the altar with a young boy or girl as they become a bar bat mitzvah. I've always said I have the best seat in the house, and the best seat in the house is looking at the front row where the parents sit when they watch their son or daughter reading from the Torah or whatever. That's an incredible perspective. Every single bar mitzvah, I've probably done over 1,000 bar mitzvahs in the 31 years I've been here. Bar and bat mitzvahs, it never gets old. At the same time, I've also had the sad experience of sitting in my chair on the altar, bima, looking into the faces of those who, during the funeral of a loved one, with the casket in the front sanctuary, and just watching their eyes and the sadness and their broken hearts. And that's also extremely moving. It has gotten difficult over the years, the longer I've been here, to stand at the graveside of people whom I've known for a long time. And in some ways, that has probably contributed partly to our decision that it's time. It's just time. And, you know, that's a very difficult thing to do. And because, as I said in one of my sermons, when I talked about my leaving, you know, a little piece of my heart breaks. To be able, though, to help people through these journeys, it's an incredible honor. Indescribable. I can't think of anything more meaningful than to be included. I mean, in the most intimate moments of a person's life, the joy of a wedding or a bar mitzvah, or the sadness, the grief, their moment of greatest vulnerability. It doesn't matter what you do, just do it with passion. Anything you do is a calling if you care about it, and in some way it captures your spirit, your passion, and your heart. That's how my wife, you know, she'd be embarrassed or probably not want me to say this, but that's the kind of teacher she was. I know that because I knew how she struggled with the kid. When the kid was struggling, she was struggling. As I said, it's her calling, and you know, again, she'd be really embarrassed if I said this, but she's not here, so I can say it. She's gotten letters from kids who are high school age, and particularly ones that maybe you know, they've struggled a little bit, and they're just soaring, and they'll write, "Dear Mrs. Goldstein, you've had faith in me, you had confidence in me, or you helped me." A letter from a parent who wrote to her saying, you know, "We were struggling, but you really understood, you saw the challenge, and you figured out a way to unlock this door for our son or daughter," I don't remember. And I'm just incredibly touched by those letters, and I'm sure many teachers, you know, we've all had a teacher, hopefully maybe more than one, who had that influence and that played that role in our lives. I also watched, she did some really interesting things in her class. You know, as her class became more and more diverse over the years, she celebrated the differences. They learned to say good morning in there were many different languages represented by the kids in her class, and they would say, every kid who came from a family in which English might have been their second language, you know, they would, Faye told me, they would say good morning in a different language. So really affirming every child and who they were and what their background was, and I thought that was kind of unique and special. And one of the greatest sources of pride, as I mentioned, we have 3 daughters. My oldest daughter is a rabbi, which gives me tremendous pride. I'm very affirming that she chose to follow in my footsteps in her own way. I must say she's a very different rabbi than I, and very successful in her own right. But our middle daughter is also a teacher, and I sometimes listen to her calling on a phone call. She teaches in New York, and she'll call her mother, and they'll talk about some problem or some challenge she's facing with a kid, and I just listen to the two of them, and there's just this focus, this commitment and passion for figuring out how to resolve this problem with this child. And I just sit back in tremendous pride, but also marvel at that, just that single-mindedness to focus on the well-being of your kids, of your charges, which I think that's the kind of faith, teacher faith was, and it's just in her blood. One of the most gratifying things, and as I started to say this, I think, was not just the involvement in the lives of my congregants, but also my involvement in the community and the work that I've been able to do in the community. You know, I was a member of Rotary for many years, so I know about the good work that Rotary does, the Lawrence Rotary. I served on the board at the Lawrence General Hospital for probably 20 years. I'm also for many, many years on the board of Edgewood Retirement Community in North Andover. These are agencies and organizations that benefit my congregants, but more significantly, they benefit the whole community. And so I've really sought to get involved in the community as well, which I've done and have been encouraged to do, and I found that extremely satisfying. And I see this award as a kind of a representative, it represents that, and that it just, I mean, you don't look for this award. It was kind of a surprise when Mark Spencer spoke to me about it. I was extremely honored and humbled, frankly, by it. But I mean, I do feel really good about it because I feel that it acknowledges something that was really important to me, which is not to just live in this community and not just to serve my congregants, but to try to be a voice for liberal religion and what it says and how it encourages us to live our lives with nobility, lives of justice and charity and caring. I've said to my successor, whom they've identified, Rabbi Max Chaikin, a young rabbi who's going to do an incredible job, he's a wonderfully talented young man, that in a sense, he's going to come to a congregation which, starting July 1st, that it's going to be like a new congregation. I think all of us are experiencing that. Whether our kids going back to school in September, it's going to be, hopefully they will be back full-time in September. It's starting again. It's recreating something. But we've learned to take advantage of some of these techniques that existed, but I never knew about Zoom before March. 1 year ago, I never heard of Zoom. Now we do almost everything on Zoom, and I've become, sort of proficient at it. Normally on a winter Friday night, I might get 35 or 40 people at a service. We are getting over 125, sometimes 150 people on a Friday night service because they're doing it at home. They don't have to go out on a cold Friday night. And I know, because I've seen the resilience of my congregants, as I've seen the resilience of our community, even with all the challenges, that we survived this, that I believe that we're going to be okay. I found it, my 3 decades plus, extremely gratifying. Hard work, a lot to do, but incredibly satisfying.
What can I say other than how inspirational this night has been? I hope you've enjoyed this program as much as we've enjoyed the privilege of putting it together. Before we move to the Zoom rooms, I want to thank the team responsible for putting this together. Shelley Berman, who was the driving force behind setting dates and deadlines. Without your hard work, this event might still be in the planning phase. Claudia Suhu, who coordinated the sponsorships. The money raised tonight will be deployed in the community as quickly as possible, and to Jim Greeley, who worked tirelessly on her team. To Michelle Houlihan, who's been the driving force behind marketing this event to the community. If you're here, you've seen her emails and social media posts. To Al Ruthazer, who built the registration site. To Howard Perkins, our liaison with the legislature. Paul Salafia, who among other things produced the sponsor videos. And to everyone who submitted a nomination. You forced us into a lot of late nights making tough decisions last January. To the production team, Sean Murphy and his team at Andover TV, Seth Graham, our Zoom room guru from Medisond, and to our sponsors, our platinum sponsor, the Savings Bank, our gold sponsors, Century Bank and Doherty Insurance, our silver sponsors, Enterprise Bank, Mark Spencer, LaGrasse, Janowitz and File Architects, Peter Caruso, and Bickling Financial Services, our bronze sponsors, Alternative Veterinary Services, the Pike School, Temple Emmanuel, and Medisond, as well as Howard Perkins, Caldwell Banker, Merrimack Valley YMCA, Claudia Suhu, Run for the Troops, Fusion Academy, Louise Haddad, and many others, including those of you who donated with your ticket purchase tonight. I'd like to thank our honored guests, the Honorable Tram Nguyen, the Honorable Frank Moran, the Honorable Senator Barry Feingold, Andrew Flanagan, Town Manager, Sheila Doherty, Town Moderator, members of the Andover Select Board, and members of the Andover School Committee. We will be holding the 2021 Citizens Who Care Awards this fall. With any luck, and benefiting from the work of a lot of medical professionals and scientists, including many right here in Andover, we'll be back to an in-person event. Not only do I hope to see you all there, but I hope that you'll help us in selecting the next group of honorees. In the summer, we'll be sending out requests for nominations, and when you see those, please think hard and let us know who in your world deserves to be recognized as a citizen who cares. One last pitch for the Rotary Club. If you're inspired by tonight, consider coming to see us some Friday morning at 7:30. We plan to get back to in-person meetings as soon as conditions allow, but for the foreseeable future, even when meeting in person, we'll have a Zoom option every week. Hybrid, as the schools are calling it these days. You can have your coffee the way you'd like and get inspired from the comfort of your home. Our website is rotaryandover.org, and you'll be able to find the schedule and ways to contact us there. If Rotary isn't for you, choose something within your capacity. Get started and inspire others. The fact that you're here means that you too have within you what it takes to be a citizen who cares. On behalf of the Rotary Club of Andover, thank you.